Hey friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome. Be sure to subscribe for more, and as usual, let's get right into today's Reddit posts. I don't have an ID, so I'm going to use his. Working in retail, you all know you're gonna get some dumb encounters, and I think this one takes first place out of my last 3 shifts. Regular came in. As soon as she's at the counter, she went, "I don't have an ID on me. I want Marlboro Lights." I can't sell without an ID. I tell her as such. She's a regular, she knows the rules. She tries to argue, and I repeat that I can't sell and wave over the next customer. The lady grumbles and starts to walk away before turning to the customer I was helping. "You got an ID on you?" He didn't respond, didn't hear her, asks for a few cans of chew, and she stalks back to her car, which was given a nightmare parking job and was blocking access to multiple gas pumps. As I'm ringing his stuff up, punching in his ID for the tobacco, she comes back over. The guy hasn't even left yet, still pocketing his things, when she repeats that she wants her smokes. I do what you do and ask if she found her ID. And I kid you not, she pointed at the guy I had just finished up with and said she was going to use his ID. Never mind that the guy never even said he'd loan her his ID. There are a whole bunch of reasons why I can't do that. I tell her no. Point out that using someone else's ID is illegal, and she tries to argue again. I tell her no again, and she stalked off cursing up a storm. All the while, the guy is just wide-eyed, asking what just happened, and confused as hell over why she thought he was going to give her his ID. Edit, before I get this asked over and over, it's store policy. Doesn't matter who you are or how often you come in. All alcohol, nicotine, or tobacco purchases require a valid government-issued ID. Level that entire field? You got it, Lieutenant. Story from my grandfather's time in the Royal Australian Air Force. He was a heavy mechanic / transport officer, worked around a lot of heavy machinery and did maintenance on runways. He was assigned to a base on a Pacific island somewhere, and he was working on a bulldozer in one of their maintenance sheds. An uppity, just out of Duntroon lieutenant walked up to him and demanded that he level a field with the bulldozer as they were preparing for an exercise. He told him to level that field, and level every goddamn thing on that field. My grandfather replied that he wasn't trained in the use of the bulldozer, he was just repairing a part on it. The lieutenant snarked back and said, "A commanding officer just gave you an order, now get in that bulldozer and level that field." Pop thought, screw it, what's the worst that could happen? And he jumped in that dozer and started leveling the field. Here's where it got malicious. In the area of the field, there was a brand new jail that had been constructed. It was a temporary wooden building for use while the Air Force waited for supplies to build a more sturdy concrete building. The construction had only been recently completed and nothing had been moved into the building yet. Anyway, during his journey to flatten the field for the lieutenant's exercise, my pop accidentally clipped the wall of the jail and caused it to begin collapsing. At this point, he knew he was screwed. He was going to be in trouble no matter what he did. So he thought, well, F it. The lieutenant told me to flatten the field and every goddamn thing on the field. Pop just ended up bulldozing the entire jail and flattening it out, along with the rest of the field. He ended up being court-martialed for destroying Royal Australian Air Force property. He represented himself and only asked that he question the lieutenant that asked him to do the work on the field. "Lieutenant, did you ask me to level the field with a bulldozer?" "Yes, but I didn't tell you to level the jail as well." "But you did instruct me to use the bulldozer to level the field." "Yes, I did." "Lieutenant, did I warn you that I wasn't instructed on the use of the bulldozer?" "Yes, but..." "Lieutenant, did you tell me to level everything on that field?" "Yes, but..." "Lieutenant, is the jailhouse on the field that you instructed me, someone not trained in the use of a bulldozer, to level?" "Yes, Corporal, the jailhouse is on that field." The only trouble my pop got into with this one was the adjudicator of the case told my pop to listen far more carefully to the orders of a superior officer. Entitled Dad Wants Kid to Ride My Dog. This happened several years ago and it still makes me angry whenever I think about it. My dog was not feeling well and we were sitting in the waiting room of the vet's office. A family sat down across from me and the father saw my dog and told his daughter, who looked like she was about 2 or 3 years old, to go meet Lassie. Everything was fine until she decided to start climbing onto his back. I said, "No, he has arthritis and doesn't feel well. Please don't do that." The girl's father jumped up and ran over and started screaming so close to my face that I could feel his spit. He said I had no business bringing a dog like that in here if it wasn't good with kids, and there was something wrong with me if I wouldn't let a lassie dog play with kids. I told him that he has arthritis and is not feeling well, and I did not want her to try to ride him. He verbally abused me, female baby boomer, some more, and told me to take the dog out of there, the vet's office, if it wasn't okay for his daughter to play with them. My dog was perfectly well behaved. He always is. I was trying to protect him. I looked over at the vet techs, hoping they would step in, but they were on the phone. He said, "Here, lassie, here, girl," then picked up his daughter and held her over my dog to try to place her on my dog's back. I grabbed my dog's leash and pulled him out from under her just in time, and the kid started to whine. I said, "He's a boy, and he's here to see the vet. He is not a horse, and he's not here for your kid to ride." This resulted in a lot more verbal abuse from him, and I kept wishing the vet techs would get off the phone and do something. He was still berating me when a vet tech called my name and led me and my dog into an exam room. My dog was treated for gastroenteritis and recovered just fine. A little update, my dog is doing fine. His arthritis bothers him sometimes, but he is enjoying life. Fortunately, I never saw that entitled father again. I still get steamed whenever I remember him. How a PE teacher put my sister in the hospital. So this is about my older sister, who I'll be calling Jane for this post. Now Jane has asthma. She has ever since she was a baby, and it gets pretty bad. We've had to spend more than one Christmas in the hospital because she had pneumonia, and the school was very well aware that she has asthma. She always had an inhaler on her, and the front office had a nebulizer for emergencies, and there were multiple doctor notes on file limiting what she could do. She couldn't play a wind instrument in band class. She was allowed to not sing in choir if she was having trouble. And if teachers ever took students outside while the weather was crappy, she was allowed to opt out. She was in middle school when this happened, and all of the teachers got the memo, except for the PE teacher. Not only did this bitch not believe Jane had asthma, but she also didn't believe asthma was real. She thought it was something that kids come up with so they don't have to exercise. This caused a few problems, and Jane had been sent to the principal's office more than once for trying to opt out of gym class. She wouldn't get in trouble, but being reprimanded in front of the entire class and getting sent to the office is mortifying for a middle schooler, and she was sick of it. Our story takes place in the middle of winter, just before winter break. We live in a cold climate, and our winters get wet and cold, neither of which are great for asthmatic lungs. On this day, the teacher had them running the mile, but instead of having them run laps in the gym, she insisted they go outside. And kids would get in trouble for taking their coats because they had to be in uniform. Jane tells the teacher she can't run outside in this weather, and the teacher tells her that if she refuses to run, then she'll be sent to the office. Now, if you'll remember, middle schoolers' sense of self-preservation is non-existent, and Jane has balls so big that they impair her walking, so she decided enough was enough. The school had a track that was a quarter-mile long, but for whatever reason, the teachers never had the kids run the mile on it. Instead, they had the kids run around the block that the school was on twice, while the teacher stood at the starting point with a stopwatch. What Jane knew and the teacher didn't was that at the same time Jane had gym class, our mom would go to the kindergarten to pick up our younger sister. She'd seen Jane running the mile on nice days earlier in the year and gave her a little honk and wave. So imagine, if you will, my mother, a CNA, going to pick up her baby, only to spot her eldest daughter running around outside with no coat on in the middle of winter, struggling not to slip on ice in certain spots. Mom was pissed. She pulled up next to Jane to ask what the hell she was doing, and Jane told her through chattering teeth that the teacher was forcing her to run the mile outside with the other girls. Mom told Jane to get into the car and drove around to the front entrance to rush her into the office, demanding that they call an ambulance and get her nebulizer for a breathing treatment, and something to warm her up and get her circulation back up, as she was literally turning blue. Jane was hospitalized. The school had to pay for the ambulance ride, pay for the nebulizer medication, and pay for the hospital stay. Mom chewed out the principal and the teacher, then the doctor did the same. The teacher was suspended and put under review, but for whatever reason, she didn't get fired. However, she did learn not to ignore doctor's notes in kids' files. And there wasn't another incident like that in the 12 years it took for all of us siblings to finish middle school. And Jane continues to have the largest balls I've ever seen. Did you just take my picture? I like birds. I had spent the better part of the day in airplanes, trying to avoid small talk and elbows of strangers. And after dropping off my luggage at the hotel, I take a stroll towards the nearest park to unwind and watch birds. On the way, I meet a woman coming towards me in athletic gear, walking a bull terrier on a short leash. Now I'm a bit nervous of certain dog breeds, so I step off the sidewalk as they approach, and back on again once they pass. From behind me I hear, "Did you just take my picture?" Confused, I turn around to see the lady in a power stance glaring at me. "What? Did you just take my picture?" she asks. "No." I assume she's referring to the camera and telephoto lens I have hung around my neck. Remember, I like birds. "What's in your pocket?" she asks. Up until that moment, I didn't notice that I had my hand in my pocket. I guess I must have a habit of walking with my hand in my pocket. I pull my hand out, wallet in tow, and hold it up for her to see. "My wallet," I reply. "You don't have a phone in there?" I realize that there's no rational way out of this conversation, and I don't want to show her my camera and cell phones to prove my innocence. I'm tired and annoyed and don't have the energy for a big scene. "You want my wallet?" I ask and raise an eyebrow. "Did you just take a picture of me?" she asks again. "Why do you want my wallet?" I ask, loud enough for people to look at us. She immediately blushes, looks down, and mutters, "Oh, never mind," as she turns and walks away. I outdumbed her and I felt pretty good about it. This might become my go-to strategy going forward. Anyway, friends, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans. So stay awesome, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.